It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon in the woods. Just a man, his camera, and the wilderness. But when he saw the figure in the trees, he realized he wasn't alone. At first, it was barely noticeable. A flicker between the branches, the shifting of leaves in a windless forest. He told himself it was nothing, but the more he filmed, the clearer it became. Something or someone was watching him. The air was thick with the scent of pine. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the forest floor, creating an eerie calm that seemed almost unnatural. Just a few miles outside of town, there was a quiet clearing, known only to the locals, a place untouched by the noise of the world. Alex, a passionate amateur filmmaker, had come out here for the solitude. He loved nature. He loved the stillness. The way light filtered through the trees, the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, it all made for perfect footage. He set up his camera on the tripod, feeling the weight of the lens in his hands, eager to capture the serene beauty of the forest. He had his plans for the day, a few hours of shooting, and a peaceful walk to clear his mind. It was a place he had visited before, and each time it had offered him a quiet refuge. But today, something was different. It felt off. The air, though still, seemed to hum with an undercurrent of tension. The sun, normally warm, seemed too harsh against his skin. As he zoomed in on a cluster of trees, the hairs on his neck stood up. A shadow flickered between them, just out of view. He thought it was an animal, perhaps a deer, or even a bird. But then it moved again. The shadow wasn't right. It was too high, too humanoid. He shook his head, dismissing the thought. "It's just my imagination," he whispered, the words coming out more nervous than he intended. But as the minutes passed, the unease settled in, and that feeling of being watched wouldn't go away. The forest was quiet, too quiet. There were no animals, no birds singing, just the sound of his own breath and his camera clicking away as he panned across the trees. At first, he tried to ignore it. It could be a trick of the light, or maybe just the stillness of the place messing with his mind. But then, it happened again. A figure, barely visible, darted between two trees. This time, it wasn't a shadow, but the unmistakable outline of something or someone moving. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He zoomed in, trying to focus his lens on the figure, but every time he thought he had it, it would disappear again. He could hear the faint sound of footsteps soft, almost inaudible, like someone walking carefully behind him. But every time he turned around, there was nothing. His mind raced. Who else would be out here? This place was remote, rarely visited by anyone. Was it just some random hiker? No, there was something about the movement, something too deliberate, something unnatural. His hands trembled slightly as he continued filming, the camera shaking as he tried to steady it. The figure was still there, moving in and out of sight, always behind the trees, always just a moment away from being fully visible. It was then that he noticed something chilling. The shadow wasn't moving randomly anymore. It was following him. Every time he shifted his position, the figure shifted too, maintaining the same distance, staying just out of his line of sight. Fear crept up his spine like a cold hand. He tried to laugh it off, telling himself it was just the wind, the trees playing tricks on him. But deep down, he knew he wasn't alone. The tension in the air grew thick, suffocating. Alex's breath came faster now, his pulse racing as the forest seemed to close in around him. He was no longer filming nature, no longer capturing the calm serenity he had hoped for. He was filming something else, something that was watching him, waiting for him to turn around, to make a mistake. The figure was getting closer now. He could see it more clearly, just a shape, hidden among the shadows, but undeniably there. It moved with eerie precision, never a sound, never a break in its pattern. It was as if the forest itself had become alive, its every tree, every leaf, a silent witness to whatever was lurking just beyond the camera's reach. Alex's breath caught in his throat as the figure moved closer. He was now more than just scared, he was terrified. His camera clicked erratically, capturing frames of the figure as it stepped out from behind a tree. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't even human. The shape that emerged from the shadows was wrong. Its limbs were too long, its posture too unnatural. There was something about the way it moved that made Alex's skin crawl. It wasn't walking, it was gliding, sliding almost as if it was part of the trees themselves. Its face, if you could call it that, was pale, expressionless, and completely devoid of life. The eyes, though, they were what froze him in place. Eyes that seemed to stare directly at him. Eyes that pierced through the lens of his camera, locking onto him with a cold, knowing gaze. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. The only sound was the distant rustling of the leaves, the soft whimper of the wind through the branches. Alex didn't know what to do. His body was frozen, the camera still rolling as he stood there, unable to move, unable to look away from the figure. It took a step closer, then another. Alex snapped out of his trance, his instincts kicking in. He turned to run, but his feet felt heavy, as if the forest itself was holding him in place. His heart pounded in his chest as he stumbled through the underbrush, his camera still clutched tightly in his hands. The figure was still there, moving in the corner of his vision, but now it wasn't alone. There were others. At least 3, maybe more shapes emerging from the trees, all moving toward him with that same eerie glide. Alex's mind screamed for him to run faster, but his legs refused to cooperate. The figures were closing in, and he knew deep down that it was only a matter of time before they reached him. The footage Alex captured that day was never shown to anyone. He managed to escape the woods, disoriented, terrified, but alive. When he was found hours later, he was barely able to speak, his camera still in his hands, the footage still intact. But no one could explain what he had filmed. The figures, the shadows, the eyes, no one could explain them. And the strangest part? After watching the footage, Alex swore that the faces of those figures, just before the camera turned off, seemed to smile. But the footage has never been found again. Some say the camera was destroyed. Others believe it's still out there, hidden in the woods. And every so often, someone hears something moving among the trees just out of sight. Something waiting, watching, but nobody knows exactly what it is. What happened next? We may never know. But one thing is certain. Alex was never the same again.